Hi, I'm Zi-Yang. I'm head of legal here at Jungle Ventures, and I want to take a little bit of time to talk to you about the legal basics for how founders should understand term sheets. Term sheets are not meant to be something really difficult, they're not meant to be something really challenging. Term sheets are a really useful tool to make sure that everyone who is signing up to the term sheet is aligned in terms of very broad principles. It's not meant to be super detailed, it's not meant to exhaustively list out every single thing that's ever going to happen in the life of this company. It's about principles-based alignment. The only bits of the term sheet that usually are legally binding are things like confidentiality and the very basic mechanical things about what's the governing law of the contract's going to be, which country are we operating in, and the cost coverage. Basically, that's it. I think it's fair to say the length of term sheets varies a lot, and it's based on personal preference. If the preference on one side is to have a very long term sheet, that means everyone involved has to devote a lot of time to going through the very long list of principles that are obviously being aligned on. The other way to do it, obviously, is to go to the other side of the spectrum, to have a short term sheet and to say, these are the things that are really, really important to all of us. If we can get aligned on these, that's good enough for us to be able to say, hey, we're all on the same page here, we want to go in the same direction. Let's leave the finer details to be worked out in the definitive documents. There's no right or wrong here, and people have different preferences. The best way to think about it is, what is there in the deal that is unusual or would be surprising, or that is something that's so important to you as a founder that you need to get alignment on that principle. So if there are things where, as a founder, you already know are very different, very distinct from the way other people run it, or there are things that you want out of this deal that maybe aren't in other deals or not in every other deal, then it's good to raise that at the start, because people don't like surprises, and a really common answer when something really unusual comes up is to say, hey look, that wasn't in the term sheet, we've got to get this deal quickly, let's close this funding round, we'll worry about that later. And then you lose that opportunity to have that discussion, and you lose the opportunity to have that alignment. It's actually quite a good idea to bring that up, or at least softly discuss it at the start and say, hey look, are we aligned on this or not? The other is the common response, which is, okay, this is too complicated. An issue that's too complicated to talk about at the term sheet, let's leave it as definitive documents. And those issues are issues of detail. So not issues of alignment of principle, but the principle's already agreed. That's the difference between that and the big ticket issues that need to be aligned on. Everyone wants to do the term sheet very quickly. By the time we've gotten to the stage of seriously talking about our term sheet, we're all seriously interested and we all want to do this deal. So people are generally willing to devote the time and the energy and the resources to getting a term sheet done pretty quickly. That said, obviously we have to get things right and we have to make sure we're all aligned on the principles, but that really shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks. If you've taken more than a couple of weeks, something's going wrong, and either someone hasn't been spending enough time, or maybe there isn't really an alignment. So ballpark, you should be thinking weeks, not months. In terms of round constructs, the very important thing to keep in mind is you need to zoom out a bit from the situation that you're in and think, what's the goal here? And the goal here is to raise the money at the right valuation in as efficient a way as possible. Not taking up too much of your time, but getting in the investment on terms that lets you grow your business going forward. And when you think about that, you need to think about how you construct the round of investors who are coming into your company. Do you want to have, for example, a single lead investor? That way you only talk to one person, one external party about the terms that you want and the rights that you're going to grant investors. And then all the other investors kind of take the same or similar rights. Alternatively, you could do a party round where you take a whole bunch of investors coming in about the same amount, the same terms, but because there's no lead investor, you have to negotiate with each of them individually. That's obviously going to take a lot more time and effort and energy out of your day-to-day running of the business. So in some situations, maybe that works because they all know each other, they're all well aligned, they all want the same thing, so really it's no real additional trouble. In other situations, that will take you much longer time because people aren't on the same page. So that's the key consideration for founders to have in mind. How many people do you want to deal with? How much time do you have to devote to the capital raising exercise?